Yoga is dark. So what do I mean by that? Yoga is dark. So let's first look at, you know, there's a concept that is very prevalent. Like folks talk about this a lot in the yoga community and in spiritual communities. They always talk about looking for the light. Everybody's looking for the light. There is um, a popular misconception that yoga is searching for the light. You're looking for the light. You're not looking for the light. Okay. When you start to really practice yoga, when you really start to get into yoga, you understand that what you're doing is you're looking for the darkness. Okay. You're looking into and looking for the darkness, the blackness, the emptiness. Now, we are overrun with information coming to us from all of our senses. We're overrun with this information. And so we think that we're going to find the answers outside. We're going to read this, we're going to go to this place, we're going to listen to this person, and then all of a sudden we have it. We're enlightened and the information is ours. We're good. It doesn't happen like that. This is how people become susceptible to being taken advantage of. When you are looking for the light, you're looking at someone else or something else as the source of that light. So you say, okay, well, this person knows a lot. I'm going to follow this person. And then you start doing everything they say. Again, this is how cults get started. This is how a cult mentality gets started. People looking for the light. You need to be looking into the darkness. When you look at the um, the stories of Shiva, or when you look at Shiva, Shiva, the word means darkness or emptiness, nothingness, right? And Shiva is a representation of God in the Hindu pantheon, is a representation of God. And so what it's telling us is that God or your higher self or whatever, the only way you're going to get there is by dropping everything else and searching and peering into the darkness. That's how you're going to become, excuse me, quote unquote, enlightened or whatever the case might be. You're going to have to look and see into the darkness. Now, how do we do that? We can look to a guru. Okay. Now, this is a loaded word. People, again, it is susceptible to that like cult mentality. People think about cults when they think about a guru. Oh, this guru, he has this cult. You know what I mean? They go together. Let's look at the definition of the word guru. Let's look at what it means. The guru is the dispeller of darkness. Okay. Now, what are we talking about here? The dispeller of darkness. He's or she is giving us information that's going to help us to turn on our own light. However, some folks get lost in the guru. They see the guru's light and they try to use the guru's light to light their path instead of, all right, instead of learning how to turn on their own light. Now, you have a lot of uh, gurus out here, so-called gurus out here, who they want to control people. But there's other gurus out here who don't. And this is how you can tell if someone is trying to control you through spiritual means. This is how you can tell. If you ask that person a question and they number one either so if you ask that person, this guru, a question, okay, and they tell you that you should not question, you should just listen to what I'm saying and then try to come to an understanding of what I'm saying, and they don't give you a valid answer, that person is trying to manipulate you. If they tell you something and they can't make a and you ask them, well, where does this come from? Where is this referencing? Where is this coming from? They can't tell you that. It's something they may have just made up, right? And they're putting it down as that's another sign that this person is trying to manipulate you. Any true guru or teacher, if you ask them a question, if they number one don't know the answer, they'll tell you, I don't know. You're gonna have to, research that yourself. I don't know. Or they'll give you the answer, and they'll give you, and if you ask them where did this come from, they'll be able to tell you it comes from this. If someone asks me about something, I always have a reference for it. I always can say, well, this is where it comes from. You should always be able to question anybody. You should always be able to question a teacher. I like the word teacher. The word guru is kind of loaded, but it does have a big significance, because a guru is a person who dispels the light. So, what we're talking about is, again, learning how to turn on your own light so you can see into the darkness, because that's where you're going. That's where all of the magic happens, is in the darkness. It's in the chaos. It's in the blackness, right? That's what Shiva is. How you tap into that is when you go into your meditation, when you do your meditation. Meditation is the key. Okay, I always like to go back to meditation is the key. This is how we tap in. Okay, and when you meditate, what happens is you close your eyes, right, and you bring your focus to one thing, and then after a while in your meditation, this has happened to me. After a while in your meditation, what happens is that it's like falling asleep. Okay, when you get ready to go to bed, you set up certain parameters in order to get yourself ready, right? What do? You put on probably some pajamas or some shorts or whatever it is that you sleep in. But first you take a shower or whatever, then you put on some clothes, some clean clothes, right? You get into the bed, or you might drink some milk or some water before you go to bed. Then you get in the bed, you put the covers over you, you get nice and snug, head on the pillow, you close your eyes, and you slowly breathe, and you have thoughts, and you think, and you drift off to sleep. That's how it happens in meditation. So what is that? Pranayama, the breath. You're controlling it. Pratyahara, withdrawing the senses. Dhyana, concentration. Dhyana, and then you fall into the meditation. These three things get set up. You control the breath, the senses, and you concentrate on something, and then you move into the meditation. You fall into the meditation like you're falling asleep, right? So that is the way you tap into that darkness. You want to turn on your own light and move into the darkness. And I mentioned a guru, right? A guru is a good person to have to help you dispel the darkness. It's just the way that you handle it. Look, I have a few different gurus, okay, that I go to for knowledge, for information, for wisdom, right? I have a teacher that I go to that as far as the um, spiritual and philosophical aspects of yoga. I go to the I consider him my guru in that area. I have another guru that I work with. Is nothing but asana. I deal mostly with asana work with this particular person. Some philosophy is mixed in there too because he mixes it in with his with his asana work. That's a guru. When I'm on the when I lived on the other coast, when I lived in the Virginia Beach area, I had a surfing guru. One of my close friends, Andre Lopez. Peace out, Andre. Andre was my surfing guru. He knew he has so much knowledge about surfing. So if I had a question, something about surfing, I wanted to try surfing. That's who I talked to, Andre Lopez, right? So I have different people in my life that I consider to be gurus, and I don't have all of my eggs in one basket. I don't have all of my energy focused on one particular individual that I'm getting my information from. I get my information from a number of different individuals, right? And then I become my own guru. I become my own dispeller of darkness. I become the guru. I am the guru. I am my own guru. The gurus that you meet and that you see, you get information from them, and then you process that information, right? And then you become the dispeller of darkness because you have now turned on your own light, and you can now dispel the darkness. So yoga is searching in the dark. Yoga is looking for the darkness. It's not looking for the light. If you're looking for the light, you know what happens when a moth finds the light. So any questions, comments, or concerns, you know what to do. Until then, my friends, peace.